because of the bend in this, there's actually a kink in that joint there, which is where the handlebars have bent out of line. I did think originally that this side was bent as well, but I now doubt that. It's quite clear when you look from the side that the far end handlebar is bent back much further than the near side. I've ordered a set of replacement bars, but they're not Honda originals, so I don't know if they're going to act as good replacements for these, because I've got a feeling that these switch clusters are actually pinned into the bars. They're located with little pins, I think. Also, the bar end weights, obviously they screw into something. I've got a feeling that what they screw into is welded into the handlebars as standard. So I may not be able to fit the bar end weights onto the replacements. We'll have to see. I also noted after I bought the replacement bars that they're actually designed for a trail bike, not for a road bike. So the angle of them, the height of them, many things could vary to make them unsuitable. We'll see once they get here. Okay, having got the handlebars unwrapped, trying to compare them, and I think they're pretty much the same. Oh no, I think the bend on the lower one is, on the original, is slightly steeper. The angle backwards seems about the same. Obviously on that side it's going to be completely different. I think we're onto it. Well, there's always something. I had a suspicion that these switch clusters were pinned to the handlebars, and as I go to put it in, I realise there's a nodule there that's supposed to go into the handlebar. Now, it looks like that one might actually be removable. When I come and look at the other side, look at that, it's moulded into the plastic. Now, if I remove that, it's going to cause me a problem, because it means that the switch clusters are going to revolve around the handlebars. Looking back on the OEM handlebars, you can actually see a series of pinholes. So it's very frustrating, but I'm going to have to think about a way around this problem. I either remove the little nodules off the switches, or I have to make a hole in the handlebars. Making a hole in the handlebars could cause problems all of its own. Well, that's the handlebars replaced. I put the switch clusters loosely into position for now. They're obviously not clamped down properly, but we'll have a go at that a little later, I think. They're securely on enough for the moment that they won't twist. Well, they won't twist too much. Certainly they won't be affected by the throttle grip turning. So we'll leave them like that for the moment. I think what I'm going to do is mark up those handlebars and we'll drill some holes in it. But what does bother me is the distance from the end here. I don't know how far from that end. There's a little plastic plug in there. And of course the bar end weights have still to go on. Before I can put the bar end weights on, I have to be able to remove, excuse me, I have to be able to remove these inserts. I'm not really sure how they're held in there. Seem to have two metal tangs either side. I don't really get how that's held. Yeah, I might need to get some assistance on that. But what I could also do is buy alternative bar end weights. Oh, one other thing. We're no longer contacting the tank. Well clear. Well, another mistake on my part. I used it as an extended lever. Well, I made a mistake again. I tried to use an extended lever to fix the bend in the brake lever, piece of extended pipe, and it cracked, probably across an intended weak point. Bugger. So now I've got to get a new brake lever. Right, here we have the bar end weights from the bike, the original equipment. This one was the one that was all badly scuffed and scraped, and you can probably still see in it some of the indentations and scrape marks where it's been bashed about. I tried sanding it down as best I can, and I've given it a repaint. You can see it's not quite the same sort of glossy colour that the original was. At least it's tidied up a bit. Now, I cannot get the brackets out of the end of the original handlebars, but I've bought a pair of these pattern, not really pattern, bar end weights that are supposed to be suitable for the CB1300. As you can see, they're a heck of a lot smaller. They're also a heck of a lot lighter. I don't know what they are in terms of grams, but they're certainly a lot lighter. In fact, actually, just having a look on here, it doesn't say anything about weight at all. What it does do is it provides you with a, excuse me a second, a crushable rubber which will expand inside the handlebar and grip the weight on. And my thought was, well, I don't need the weight, I've got weights. What I need is that extendable, expandable rubber. If, and I'm hoping this nut will fit onto the end of this bolt, which it will, perfect, they're the same thread. I can then use the rubbers on these and put on the original bar end weights. Now, it just so happens, in Blue Peter fashion, I've actually prepared two of the larger rubbers. I've cut a little dip in it because these bar end weights have a little notch in them, and I believe it's so that they go up a certain way, but I don't know why that would be. Why do they have to be a certain way up? I wouldn't have thought that was necessary, but anyway, I've cut out a little notch so that the rubber fits square on them. So I can now use the original screws, use the rubbers from the fake bar ends, and I can now fit the original bar end weights onto the handlebars, and we'll get it looking original. Right, there we go. Two bar end weights ready to go. Now the next thing to do is remove the handlebars from the bike, and I've got to drill the holes for the little pins on the switch clusters to go into the right place. Right, having now got the handlebars off the bike and turned upside down into the vise, we now use the original handlebars. That is the hole that we want. I also notice that the hole is not, right, it's hard to describe. If that was vertical, that angle was vertical, the hole is actually slightly offset to it. Yes, it's not quite on the vertical, it's, I'd say, about 5 degrees off. Now, I've managed to use a hacksaw and put a little mark on there, but I need to make sure that the angle of the dangle, so I need to turn this by about 5 degrees to make sure that I put the indent ready to drill in at the right place. Measure twice, cut once. Well, that looks parallel to me. That still doesn't look like it's quite. That to me is vertical. So that to me suggests that's got to go round a bit more. A wee bit more maybe. The difficulty that we've got as well is I've got to watch that, excuse me, measuring and talking at the same time isn't the right thing to do. I've got to make sure that the angle I'm doing it at you know, that's the bent part of the bars, so yeah, I think that's pretty much as good as I can get. Right, I need to put a little indent there, ready to drill against. Hope I'm doing this right, I really do. Can't quite get it. That I think will be the indent. Drill. I need the drill bit and I need the drill size. Smoking! Okay, you have two holes, hopefully in the right places. I think what I might do is put a little chamfer on those edges as well, just to help them locate. A little countersink tool. Right, we'll clean that off. We'll go and see if the switch clusters will fit into it. Might even give us a good idea of how far from the end it will go. Okay, this will be the clutch side. Of course it wants to fight me all the way. And of course I've got the screws in. Ah, going the wrong way in. Ha ha ha. Ah. This is going to be a bit of trouble. The nasty thing. Oh, stop it. I don't want to dent the tank. Right, it fits. It will fit in. It's a little bit too close to the end by the looks of it. Let me just get the bar end weight. Yeah, it is. It's just a little bit too far from the end. Hopefully it won't matter how far from the end it is, if, big if, the bar end will catch. Oh, look at that. Got to go the wrong way, hasn't it? No, that'll work. That will work nicely. Oh, I've lost the pinhole now. Yep, that will work nicely. Okay, that's the handlebars mounted back on, and they seem to be all right. Switch cluster on that side certainly seems to be in the right position. The one on this side seems to be a little bit too far round, maybe, but they are pinned in position. Throttle's not quite returning, that's a little bit stiff, and I think it's because there's a little bit too much overhang there. I think the rubber securing this bar end weight is actually gripping the throttle at the same time. But that comes in handy on this side because it's also gripping that lever and stopping that from turning. I think, even looking at these cables, this brake hose here is a little bit taut. I'm not entirely happy with how that's sitting. It just seems a little bit under tension to me, as if that brake unit was a little bit too far over. And I do wonder, well, look how close that's mounted to the bend and how close that's mounted to the bend. Well, maybe they're the same. No, that one's definitely, that gap there, and when you look how close that is to that bend compared to this side, when you look how close that is to that bend and the gap here, no, it's, that one's too far away. I think these switch units could do with moving in by about 1 centimetre, probably on both sides.